How are you guys doing? Aaron Sampson here.
And Ryan Schubert.
We were going to originally have a patch note conversation regarding Call of Duty Blackout, them getting rid of the 9-bang, which you're just blinding yourself half the time with anyway.
That had to go.
Where we landed instead was actually that Blackout's kind of falling behind other Battle Royale games. And that has to do with a couple different things. Call of Duty players are kind of frustrated with the season pass and the microtransaction system. Also just looking at what they did with their Blight Father mini event versus Fortnite, which is a larger, better, more well executed event. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why Blackout is falling behind. And I'm talking about gameplay mechanics, not necessarily player population.
And I think it's important to note that Blackout is really good. It's a foundation that needs a better building on top of it.
Not bad.
Mission area secure. Good work.
So Call of Duty's parent company Activision went on the record last week during their earnings report as putting pressure on Destiny 2 to basically make more money. And I feel like you can tie this all directly into sort of what's wrong with Blackout's current progression system, which is based on Fortnite's season, but is just not done nearly as well. You basically can't earn nearly enough playing regular multiplayer, much less Blackout.
I think that's the root of the problem. Like, I primarily play multiplayer, and the unlock regularity of the black market stuff is actually pretty decent. Every so many matches, you're going to unlock something. I'm not going to say that I'm overwhelmed or very excited about any of the rewards. I think that's something they need to work on. What you get isn't very interesting to me. Not to go too deep into that, just as a reflection on it, though, Call of Duty World War II, the previous game, was bananas with skins, outfits, variations on weapons. Like they weren't just cosmetic changes. They had different impacts on how XP was earned, depending on what weapons you had equipped. There was a qualitative reason to earn those things, and there were some weapons that were actually event unique. To start, there isn't really any of that in Black Ops 4, and that is just compounded by the fact that if you're playing Blackout, the reward system is based almost entirely on kills, with a little bit of extra bonus if you make it to the top 10.
Doesn't it feel like that just completely misses the point of Battle Royale? The entire point of Battle Royale isn't to kill. It's basically to make the last kill. When you really boil it down to it, it's to make the last kill of the match. And not properly rewarding people for that goal seems like a huge misstep.
You know, if you played PUBG as an example, you get rewarded for survival, for lasting longer. I mean, you get bonuses for the kills. You don't have to make the top 10 to come out of it with a certain amount of points towards, your next loot crate or whatever.
There's another problem now. So character customization. So a big draw of a game like Fortnite is you earn things and you can equip those things. And over the weekend, I decided to finally go equip the skins that I'd earned through a couple of events. And I had to look up a YouTube video on how to do it because the button presses weren't even obvious. Any game worth its salt that's trying to engage in this kind of microtransaction system or season pass, your character has to be visible, I'm going to just say within one button press of the main screen. So like Fortnite, it's easy. Destiny, you can pull up your character anytime you want at all times and tweak it or look at it. Call of Duty was several button presses that one of them was a button prompt that isn't even on the menu. Like you don't know you have to hit option on PlayStation. Now, that's not the worst one I've seen this week. The worst one this week definitely still goes to Battlefield 5. We counted no less than 6 button presses.
And that's got to be sort of the low point of customization menus. With Blackout specifically, what I also worry about there is that it feels very empty. And it's a pain to navigate. That's something I think that it would be wise to invest some effort into making simpler, making more accessible, and making the benefits and the rewards more obvious. Like in Fortnite or PUBG, it's always been apparent what is sort of possible. The character customization menus are easy to get to. It's easy to see what can change, what you're sort of looking for, and how to get it isn't hard to figure out either.
So this patch in Blackout brought the Blight Father zombie to the asylum area, the cemeteries particularly. First of all, I think it's like the only special event that they've had, even though they had a ton of special events in the beta, like close quarters, fast close, things like that. Fighting the Blight Father is such a worse experience than, say, the Fortnite experience that also just happened in Fortnite, where zombies spawned all over the map. They were cube monsters. When you fought the cube monsters, they would give you health back. So when you got caught off guard by other players, they would give you health and shields. Well, I think mostly shields. But if you got caught off guard by another player, you weren't at a huge disadvantage for focusing on the fun, which was shooting the zombies. And then those zombies would drop progressively better and better loot over time. You know, again, going back to the idea of a special event, that's how you do a special event. Like Fortnite had the Kevin story, it had an event start, it had a story through the season, it had a one-time event close, and it just did the cube monster so much better than just the weird Blight Father thing that happens on one place in the map at one time. Where are the special modes in Call of Duty? I mean, these are the guys that excel at this stuff.
I think the Blight Father aspect specifically was underwhelming. A, not honestly that fun.
Yeah.
And then B, what is the value of a reward if you get killed trying to get it? I felt like I was more interested in looking for opponents that were trying to do the same thing than I was in actually dealing with the Blight Father.
The Blight Father showing up in the final circle of a Call of Duty match would be funny and kind of frantic. And the cube monsters were in the final circles of Fortnite, which was funny and frantic because you could tell when another team had accidentally stumbled across cube monsters in the last circle, because you would just see a giant troop of cube monsters pointing at a player, like frantically running away, and you're like, oh, I got this. And then usually while you were running after them, you would accidentally then trigger them yourselves. It was fun and it was funny and it was fair. And it just feels like the Blight Father was just kind of shoved into one part of the map without a lot of thought put into it.
On some levels, I want to give a little bit of leeway to Call of Duty for being the newcomer. I know that it's a giant AAA game. They've had plenty of time to be prepared for this, and it appears as if they weren't. But if anybody can catch up with the pace set by Epic, it has to be Activision, right?
So let's say they do what you're saying and they get it together. They come up with some fun creative modes, which they have a history of doing, and they start rewarding you properly for Blackout, which I would really appreciate. So yeah, if Blackout wants to catch up to competitors, and again, to be fair, it's probably more of a PUBG competitor than a Fortnite at this point. I don't know, in your mind, what does Blackout need to do now, moving forward?
There's tons of room for more unique things to be a part of Blackout, and that could be anywhere from special modes to, like, Fortnite having the map fundamentally change. You know, what I like about, at least what I think they signaled with the initial release of Blackout, is a willingness to pay homage to older Call of Duty games. And that means the sort of sky is the limit as far as augmenting that map is concerned.
Yeah, imagine if the zombie guys came in and started putting secrets on the Blackout map. Like, how interesting would that be?
That would be super cool. For me, I'm a little bit more interested in seeing some of my old favorite maps reappear and have opportunities to basically play on them again. There's a few maps that are already in Blackout that the second I find myself in them, I just have flashbacks to the hundreds of hours of multiplayer I played on them.
Speaking of, Nuketown is actually coming in this week.
That's going to be a mess.
All right, so those are our thoughts on Blackout and why it's kind of falling behind as a Battle Royale game.
It's still pretty dang good, though, just for the record.
As a pretty dang good Battle Royale game.
Yes.
It's definitely, it's in the top 3 of the 3 Battle Royale games that people are playing, regardless.
Of course, but I think the core is there. It needs more.
And we want to know what you guys think. What kind of special events do you want to see come to Blackout? Particularly because, again, Call of Duty's been really good at these kinds of modes in the past. Also, let us know what other games you guys are interested in if you're not playing Blackout. Battlefield's out. We're going to be looking at Division 2 and Anthem later this year, and maybe that's where your mind's already gone. Or hell, Firestorm, which is not even going to be here till spring.
That's true. I am looking forward to see where World War III goes. I want to see that game get more interesting. And honestly, still playing Red Dead Redemption.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone.